You may be thinking to yourself, what is leukemia and how does it connect to what we've studied? Well, I have the answers you need. Leukemia is a form of cancer that affects a person's bone marrow and blood cells. Bone marrow produces blood cells, fat, cartilage, and bone. Leukemia causes bone marrow to produce abnormal blood cells. These abnormal blood cells hinder normal blood cells and make it difficult for the body to fight off infections, control bleeding, and transport oxygen. There are four types of leukemia that are the most common. They are classified by how rapidly the cancer progresses and which type of stem cell it targets. The first type of leukemia is called acute lymphocytic leukemia, or ALL. This leukemia targets lymphoid cells and progresses very rapidly. This type is most common in children. The second type is chronic lymphocytic leukemia, or CLL. This leukemia also targets lymphoid cells, but progresses slower than the acute type. This type is most common in adults and almost never found in children. The third type is acute myeloid leukemia, or AML. This leukemia targets myeloid cells and progresses rapidly. This type is found in both children and adults. The fourth type is chronic myeloid leukemia, or CML. This type also targets myeloid cells, but progresses slower than the acute type. This type is mostly found in adults. DNA contains instructions that tell cells their individual functions, growth, and instructions on when to divide. Mutations in the DNA causes cells to grow and divide rapidly. New cells are identical to the original cell and contain the same mutated DNA. Mutations also stop cells from controlling when to stop growing and from repairing damaged DNA. The cells grow, divide rapidly, and aren't stopped. This is called cancer. Radiation is one of the main causes of leukemia. Radiation, and even radiation therapy used to treat cancer, can cause leukemia. A certain radiation, known as ionizing radiation, is strong enough to damage DNA and cause leukemia. The DNA molecule takes the form of a double-stranded helix and is made up of nucleotides with different nitrogen bases. Radiation can break the bonds that hold DNA together. It can also cause a nitrogen base to be read as a different one. Adenine could become a guanine. These can cause the cell to become cancerous. Atomic bombs are sources of ionizing radiation, and in Japan, many people, and especially children, develop leukemia after the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. While leukemia isn't believed to be inherited, some genetic conditions and mutations like Down syndrome and Li-Fraumeni syndrome can be inherited that increase the possibility of a person getting leukemia. In conclusion, leukemia is a cancer that affects bone marrow and blood cells. Leukemia causes blood cells to reproduce too quickly and uncontrollably. Leukemia is caused by mutations in the DNA. Radiation can cause DNA to mutate by breaking the bonds that hold DNA together. People with genetic conditions are more likely to get leukemia.
Created using Powtoon.